see these numbers emerging, and the scam has gone on for about a decade now, because in 2016 it was only unearthed when that digitization process was started. That's when the authorities got to know that something is absolutely wrong here and the funds are not reaching the beneficiaries that they are intended to reach. Mr. Ratan Sharda, your preliminary comments on the details that have emerged so far.
Well, let me share a few facts which I had archived some years back.
Sure.
There is a Times of India report of 17th August which says in Uttarakhand, the scholarship scheme for BPL from class 1 to 10th, 88% people didn't enroll again because of the digitization, because direct benefit transfer was happening directly to the students. Earlier, the money was going to the schools or the madrasas at that time.
Yeah.
Again, there is a report of Hidayat Times, 15 September 2017. 27 lakh ration cards are found to be bogus, and new ration cards are issued afresh to 33 lakh deserving people. Then you had a midday meal scheme scandal in Jharkhand, Manipur, Andhra Pradesh, where 44 lakh ghost students were found when digitization was done.
Yeah.
Then we had the case of number of hostels. If you, the way you see now, 90% to 60% fraud institutions. What are the officials doing? What are the governments doing? Because when the government tries to weed out such institutions, there are people who start crying about secularism, about intolerance, about victimization. So can we understand the difference between victimization and the genuine fraudulent way the people are being, the tax money being looted by people who basically are there with fake institutions? Why can't we have honesty in at least weeding out such elements? It is not a question of it's madrasa or school. It is basically how the people are just extracting, exploiting and making money in a big fraud. So this has to be caught. It has taken so many years.
Mr. Ahmadayaz, we were debating this story at 6 p.m. also today. And we had certain Islamic scholars and people from the community who know about how madrasas are run, because about 70 to 80% of the minority funds, especially pertaining to education, are sought by the Muslim community to various madrasas, to various students who rightfully deserve this help from the government. Unfortunately, it's not reaching the right hands. It seems to be a common knowledge that these funds are misused. Do you think that the government should have stepped in earlier? And more importantly, if there is a general overall knowledge about these misappropriation of fund really happening, do you think something could have been done at the community level?
No, because at community level, possibly this would not have, nothing could have been done, because it must not have been known to the community. It must have been between the institution and the government. You see, any institution, education institution, cannot operate unless it is properly registered, and why it is being registered, to see that it is monitored by the government, by the agencies, authorities properly. And here, if it is a question of siphoning of around 140 crores by these institutions, by these madrasas, and it is not just it has happened over the night. It is happening for last so many years.
Yes.
And then also it is almost pan India. It is not in one area, one state, one institution. So my point is that where the government has been, what the government has been doing, what the authorities have been doing, if this such a large scale, siphoning of funds has been happening, what the government has been doing, don't you think that these people must have been in league with?
This is a very valid question, and in fact, in my opening comments, I said that why did it take so long for the government to unearth the scam? That is also exactly what Mr. Ratan Sharda was arguing. Let's come to the second limb of the argument. The second limb of the argument is, for example, there was an audit process of madrasas, and this pertained to educational curriculum that was started in certain states, including Uttar Pradesh. And whenever there's an audit of any kind of quote-unquote religious minority institutions, including the madrasas, there is a huge hue and cry, and people argue this as some sort of attack on the minority rights in this country. How far do you think that narrative is responsible, that we have not asked the right questions so far?
As long as it is a fraud or a scam, it cannot be called to be an attack on minorities.
I'm glad you
said that. If there is something really what is being claimed, if it is really what is being claimed, so then we cannot call it an attack, because you see, nobody can authorize, nobody can approve, nobody can favor any sort of fraud of funds any siphoning of funds or any, it's almost a crime in a way, if at all we call it. But the point is, again the point is that if this was happening, if it is not done in league with the agencies, with the administration, why it could not be checked? One. Second, I also doubt why has it come today, because the timings are now very important. Why it is, if it has been continuing for last so many years, why it is happening now when the elections are around the corner? I see that also a possibility, that possibly it is linked to that also. If it is not so, then why it could not be done 2 years back?
No, what relation does it have with elections, sir? I'm curious.
Yeah, I will explain. You know
Explain,
what happens,
please.
here the elections are mostly based on, this communal, are being done on communal lines. So it gives the feeling that no, the minority, the Muslims are now being checked properly. It gives a reason for others to say that.
So you can't make both the arguments. You made a wonderful argument when you argued that if it's a fraud, it doesn't matter which community or which class really it is, there must be an investigation. And suddenly you start saying that it shows there are some political ambitions to this.
No,
I mean,
it's
an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron.
Here I am blaming administration.
Huh.
No, here I am blaming the administration. Why they have chosen this time only? They could have done it earlier.
There
also,
is, I believe in my understanding,
right now is there for last
there is
9
no
years.
answer to the question of timing. It's only a speculative matter. Mr. Amitabh Sinha, do you agree that what Mr. Ahmadayaz is arguing, that the timing is questionable, or I believe it's a secondary argument to saying that, look, we are being targeted in some manner. If there is a fraud which is happening, which pertains to students from the minority community, these are government funds, taxpayers' money, which is supposed to go to the underprivileged children in our country from the minority community, then it should anger us all that the children who are supposed to get money are not getting that money and it's being siphoned off.
Thank you. Mr. Ayaz started the issue with one note and then finished his argument with a different note. And it is as usual, I mean, nothing surprising. But let me put my point very clear. See, this entire scam or corruption, what Anand and what we were discussing, I mean, I should try to reach at the genesis of this problem. See, this corruption is basically because of the corruption of the entire concept in the Constitution itself. In the Constitution, Article 14 talks about the right of equality, and Article 30, completely vanishes that right to equality and gives special rights to minority institutions and all. See, this is the iceberg, tip of the iceberg. I am telling you, this corruption because of the corrupt approach towards dealing this entire concept because of the vote politics. Mr. Ayaz, in the last portion of your statement, very correctly said that this is politics. Yes, I agree. This is politics. Why this arrangement has been done? Only because to woo the Muslim voters, they generally vote in chunk, and no government, no political party wanted to raise fingers on that, because just a minute. We have seen so many instances like CAA and NRC, they just go berserk and start, arsoning.
But Mr. Sinha, staying focused on the issue here and the embezzlement of funds that has happened, I don't understand if there can be an argument that it benefits the community in some way. How can it benefit any community if the money that is supposed to go to your madrasas or minority-run educational institutions, it's not going to the madrasas or the children, then it's clearly embezzled, and one wonders for what purpose it has been stolen off.
See, the concept is faulty. That is the problem. And the people who are using or misusing this provision, obviously they are, using this in their own benefits, and the actual needy people will not get it, because this entire concept is not honest. Why any religious minority should be considered as a valid point when this constitution ensures secularism, when secularism is there?
Well, sir, that's a larger debate, and we must have that in that country someday. I'm not denying the existence of that debate.
Corruption is only because of that corrupt mindset. that why Muslims should be given this type of, and see, if the corrupt genesis is corrupt, then the entire corruption will start running from this point
Well,
only.
sir,